to record this. The kleshas in yoga are kind of the roots of our suffering, and one of them is our our false sense of separation from each other, that we identify as an individual in our ego. And these words by Rami Shapiro, I think, speak to this really well. Imagine an ocean whose surface is dotted with waves. Each wave is unique and distinct. Each has its own shape, space, and time. Each rises and falls in its own way, and yet none is other than the ocean itself. No wave is separate from any other, and all are temporary manifestations of the one ocean. Now imagine that each wave had a mind of its own. Each wave was self-aware and self-conscious. What would the waves be saying to themselves? First, they would compare one wave to another and themselves to all others. This one's taller, that one's fuller, this one's smaller, that one's weaker. Second, they would wonder about the lives of their fellow waves. Third, they would worry about what happens to those waves that seem to die either on the shore or in the midst of their swell. Given enough time, they would create elaborate stories about themselves and what happens to the waves after they die. They would embrace these waves they love in a future heaven of shoreless oceans and condemn those they hate to an eternal beach. To us, this seems silly. We can see that the wave is just the ocean in extension. We know that when a wave loses its form, it simply returns to the ocean, more fully becoming what it always was. It is the illusion of separateness that causes the waves their anxiety. It is their quest for permanence that drives them to worry and judge. What is true of our hypothetical waves is true also of us. We are the waves of the divine, of the infinite, of God. We are God in temporary extension. The extent to which we insist on being other, being permanent and separate from each other and God, is the extent to which we are sad, depressed, anxious, lost, and joyless. The extent to which we see the fundamental emptiness of this illusion and awake to the essential unity of all things in, with, and as God is the extent to which we are alive, vibrant, energized, purposeful, and filled with holy joy. So that's just a little introduction to the words in the Ecclesiastes, words of King Solomon. So let's just take a moment to imagine, as you sit with your eyes closed, that your breath is this riding wave where you rise and fall. And see if you can allow yourself to become the breath, that you just become the wave, the rising and the falling, instead of a body that breathes, a mind that controls breath. See if you can just instead allow yourself to be the breath. And decide what's comfortable in your breathing process. Do you want to breathe in and out through your nose? Do you want to try breathing out through your mouth? Maggie, you were here earlier today when we did a lot of the whoo breath, the exhale through the mouth breath. Whatever works for you. But just allow yourself to come into the knowing that you are the breath itself. You are the rise, you are the fall. You are the energy that is the breath. Let your form, your muscles, your skin, your bones all soften into the breath, melting places that are tense or strained and coming into softness and spaciousness instead. See what it feels like to melt even more. See if you can become the emptiness, the formlessness. When you dissolve away your tensions and strains, imagine that you're dissolving that wave of the ocean, that little peak that we sometimes feel we are, and instead sink into the expansiveness, dissolve into the expansiveness of what you truly are. This is the gift of restorative practices as we get to become the ocean, quieting the mind, feeding the emptiness. Let's go ahead and open our eyes and find your way onto your back. You don't have to open your eyes, you can keep your eyes closed, but find your way onto your back. And so let's go ahead and stretch ourselves out on the floor. Maybe you've been going all day, and this is the first time that you've become horizontal since you woke up this morning, or at least for many hours. And if that's the case, even if it's not the case, even if you just got off laying on the couch to come do restorative yoga, enjoy. Let your body settle down. Enjoy the very unique nature of being horizontal on the earth. Take a moment to let yourself breathe. Feel yourself spread out within the breath here in this position, which is so different from a seated posture. Before we start to move, let's just scan our body for a moment and just notice what you're finding. Maybe start at the crown. Notice, do you have a headache? Is your head feeling easy and gentle? Are your thoughts racing or steady? How are the expressions through your face? Do you have tension, or is your face able to loosen well? How is your breath moving through the sinuses down into the trachea? Are your shoulders able to receive softness? Is your neck relaxed? Do you have a sense of expansiveness in your lungs as you breathe in, and a sense of release as you breathe out? Are your arms able to feel spacious and free, heavy? Same with the spine. Notice where you touch the floor, where you're suspended. Enjoy your curves. Come all the way down into the belly. Feel the breath there. Come into the pelvis. Maybe feel the breath there. Let your legs feel heavy, draping your limbs. How much weight can you give over to the earth? What burden can you set down now? So as your body starts to learn the art of resting, what burden in the mind or body can you consciously set down? And then let's stretch our body. So stretch the right side. Maybe you want to yawn like I do. And stretch the right side, stretch the left side. So just a little bit of invigoration. And let this be more about just welcoming yourself home into the feelings of the body. Become embodied. And then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a little rocking, a little swaying. Rocking is so soothing, so just let it be soothing to you. It doesn't have to be far or fast. It can be whatever you want it to be. All right, and then let's circle the knees, move a little slowly, and if you have a hard time, gripping your wrist, I'm not sure how your hand strength is this week, but feel free, you can just kind of use one hand and let the knees find their way. Go the other direction. All right, and then stillness. Draw the knees into the chest. Now we're going to bring our legs wide apart and back in. Just befriend the hip joints, the way they move. All right, and then let's go ahead and bring the right knee into the chest. The left leg is long on the floor. Find the place that feels most comfortable to draw the knee in. And then start to wake up your feet, so stretch open. Maybe you've had shoes on all day and this is your first chance to let the feet be naked. So if that's the case, enjoy, let them look around, spread out the bones, spread the skin. And then when you're ready, let's change sides. Left knee into the chest, right leg stretches out. Same, feel the feet grow in some spaciousness. Wiggle your toes, move around in your ankles, feel that translate into your calves and shins. And then release that left leg down, starfish the body, open things up, spread out your limbs. And then as you exhale, knees into the chest, pick up your head, nice gentle forward fold. Couple more times, opening yourself up, kind of like a big spread out cat-cow on the floor. Breathe out as you draw in. Breathe in as you spread out. All right, and then put 2 feet on the ground, arms stretched out to the side, nice and gentle. Feet are wide on the mat, and let's just rock our knees. Beginning to find the outer hips a little bit, the side waists, even the spine. Breathe as you move. All right, and then just roll right over onto your side and curl into a little ball. Pause here for a moment and notice the ease just being on your side. Let the eyes rest. And then as you're ready, we're going to come up onto all fours. We're going to find our way into some cat-cows. So the hands are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. And let's start moving the spine. So arching and rounding, finding the breath. And then feel free to move things around so you can sway through your shoulders, wiggle through your hips, move your head around, maybe go side to side, just opening the body up. And not just for the sake of stretching, but for the sake of embodying, getting to know what it feels like to be inside your body right now. And then stretch back towards child's pose. Relax your forehead toward the floor. Walk the hands down or up or out or anywhere you want them to be. Relax the base of the skull. Let your forehead come toward the floor. You can always put it up on a block or a blanket if you can't touch the floor. Let's find our side opening. Walk the hands over to the left. Feeling the right ribs open. Just extend, reach into the hips. If your shoulder doesn't like this, take a different vector of movement with your arms until you're comfortable. Finding breathing. Become the rise and the fall of the breath. All right, then inch over the other way. Find your way to the other side. Relax the base of the skull. Feel the sense of spaciousness through the breathing. Become the rise, become the fall. All right, and then come back to center. Come up onto your hands and your knees. A twist here. Lift the arm up in the air. Exhale, slide that shoulder down. Feel a sense of openness in the back body. What are you feeling here? What feels good here? Keep moving the shoulders away from the ears and let your body breathe. And inhale, reach that arm all the way back up to the sky. Place the hand down, change sides. Exhale and slide that arm under. Gaze toward the floor, finding the breath again and again. And then inhale and lift that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground and find dog pose. So spread out your feet, Spread out your hands, take some time here, and maybe come down onto your forearms if you're able to do that. If not, just come to a wall. You can either do dog pose with your hands resting on a table, or your hands against a wall, or one hand against a wall. Finding your breathing body. Okay, so no matter what posture you're taking, is there extension? Is your heart lifting toward the pelvis? Is there a sense of spaciousness that you can breathe into? Melt through the eyes, the jaw, the tongue. Find the softness. And then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees. Feel free to drape your head a little bit. Finding your breathing. If you want to, you can grab onto the elbows and hang. You can let the hands come to blocks or the floor. Let your neck be soft. Let your shoulders be soft. Feel free to move around. You can wag your tail or move your head around. Inhale for a halfway lift. The legs and spine become straighter and longer. Exhale and melt back down. We're going to rise up. Arms coming to the sky, reaching upward. Lengthen, maybe lean back a little bit, open the chest if it feels good. And then relax your hands. Interlace your hands behind your back. Open the chest, bend your knees, release your arms away from the spine if you're able to. Don't worry if this is not available. Then release the hands down to the ground. Inhale for a halfway lift. Then exhale and melt again. Step your left foot back. Your right foot comes forward, so we're finding our way into a lunge with some blocks. Let's start moving. Take a deep breath in as we exhale, straighten the legs. Just enjoy some opening before we rest. The purpose of doing this in a restorative practice, to just go through some paces of being in the body, is just for that, just to become embodied, to enhance our kinesthesia, our interoceptive skills, so that when we come to rest, we're not up in our head so much, we're in our body and in our breath. Go ahead and place your back knee down onto the ground. Open the heart. You can bring your hands up in the air if you want, or you can keep your hands down on the blocks or on your knee. Feel the extension moving through the spine. Let's take a very gentle twist here. You have a choice. You can either put your hand onto the floor and twist open with your other hand on your knee or in the air, or perhaps you want to take your forearm to the knee and just find a more upright twist. Whatever's opening the body best for you. Drop the shoulders down away from the ears, still having a little strain, hugging to the midline. Become the breath over and over again. And unwind that. Bring the hands down onto the ground. Come back onto all fours. Have a cat-cow, arching, grounding. Hands can come on blocks again. Let's bring our other foot forward. So now our left foot is in front. Lift up the back knee, hands on blocks, and let's start to move. So bending and straightening the front leg. Just enjoying that sense that you can open the hip flexors, you can open the hamstrings. But really what you're doing is moving with breath so that you feel embodied. Try to discover something that feels nice. What feels good here? And then after this next one, let's go ahead and find our way of putting our knee on the ground. Find the extension through your spine. Hug to the midline a little bit and come on up. So same, you can keep your hands on your knee or on your blocks. You can lift your arms up in the air. So find what's going to be best for you for just becoming in the body. There's no goal other than embodiment, coming into the breath. Is there something lovely here for you? Is there a happy place in the body that you want to just hang out in? Maybe it's the breath. Let's find our way into a twist. So once again, hand can be on the floor or a block. You can have a twist here. You can also have a forearm to the outer or to the thigh and twist here. Any variation that's right for your body. Let your breath find its way. All right, let's come back. Bring yourself back onto all fours one more time. Arching, rounding the spine. Let's find our way to the floor. Before we go anywhere, put your head down on your hands. Let your forehead rest on your palms. And just feel the breath. See if you can feel the rise and fall, the sense of moving from the center of the breath outward, down and up your spine. Back home again. Let's turn this into Sphinx pose. Take your forearms on the ground. Extend your spine, stretch your legs a little bit. Just enjoy a little bit of a back bend here. And then exhale and release down. We're going to come up onto spider fingertips, so wide. Inhale, look up, turn to one side with your head. Exhale and come back down. Inhale, turn the other way, and then exhale and release. Pick up your feet and rock. And let your hips rock too, not just your legs. Let everything kind of move side to side, freeing up the back. And then we're going to come back either onto all fours for some movement like cat-cows or some circles, or back into child's pose. Relax your forehead toward the floor. Find your breath. All right, let's go ahead and come up to sit. Grab a blanket. We're just going to open the hips a little bit here. So we're going to sit on the edge of a blanket, Baddha Konasana. So we're going to do it two different ways. First, we'll do it the more traditional way where the feet kind of come in close. Hands are behind you. Open up the chest. Let's let the knees descend as your spine lifts. So just get used to opening the pelvis in this way. Finding some work in the hips to stay here. And then release that. Let's bring our feet forward so that there's a diamond shape in between our legs, so our feet are a little further away from us. Find the breath, lift your heart, and then come forward. You can still be on the edge of your blanket here. Try not to collapse the spine and drop the head. Reach the heart and extend forward a little bit of weight with your elbows on your knees. Breathing deeply, shoulders are soft and relaxed. Deep inhales and deep exhales. And then go ahead and come on up. We're going to turn this into pigeon pose or reverse pigeon pose. And then we'll start our restorative postures, the more traditional restorative postures. Everything is restorative if you have the right mindset for it. So if you're coming into pigeon pose, feel free to support underneath your hips to whatever place you need. Sometimes lately I've been taking a blanket or two long fold, kind of stacking them. You don't have to do this. You can do it any way you usually support underneath your hips. And this way I have support underneath my thigh and underneath my sit bone. So you can try anything you want. Just a little support underneath your sit bone might be enough. The important thing here is to support your head. So if you have a block to rest on, or even if you prop your elbows up on something and rest your head in your forehead. So remember, for a pose to be restorative, having your nervous system calm and relaxed really assists your ability to renew and restore. And when our heads are supported, our foreheads are supported, it's a cue to the nervous system to relax. Find your breath. Whatever is working, however the position is that you have found. Maybe you're on your back and you're in a reverse pigeon pose. If so, try to put your foot on a piece of furniture or your wall so that your shoulders can relax and you don't have to grab on behind your thigh. Deep inhale. Become the wave again. Become the breath. See if you can teach your body that it's just breath. Your whole body is the breath. As you're ready, let's go ahead and come on up. If you want to do dog pose in between, you can. If you want to just switch sides, you can. Perhaps the second side is a little bit more free or a little less free in your body. So experiment with what props you need for support so that you're very comfortable and relaxed. Sometimes I prefer width of blocks instead of height of blocks. So if you have 2 blocks, that might feel better than 1 skinny block. Be creative in finding solutions. So however your body is supported best, it could look very different than what I'm doing. Scan yourself once you get into the pose, whether you're in reverse pigeon pose or pigeon pose. Scan your body and look for tension patterns. Bring the breath as best as you can to those places and melt. Teach your body that you are the breath, that you're soft and subtle, supple, relaxed and easy. Melt the forehead, let the nervous system take that cue that all is safe and well. How do you want to breathe? Are your exhales coming out through nose or mouth? Both are good, so you find your way. Breathe in through the nose and out in a comfortable fashion. As you're ready, let's go ahead and come on out of there. Swing that leg around. Okay. Now, let's prepare. We're going to do Supta Virasana in just a little bit. So we're just going to prepare our thighs for this. So I want you to lie down on your side, either side. Okay. Of course, you can take a blanket if you need it for support underneath your head. With the bottom leg, you can either straighten it or have it bent, whichever feels stable and good. You can bring the top knee close to your chest so you can grab onto your ankle if you need a spot to grab, and then bring that leg back. Now, this thigh stretch might be too much, and if that's the case, grab a strap and put it around your ankle. And you decide with this lower leg, experiment. Do you want it bent more? Do you want it straight? How do you want to be on the floor to stretch your top quadricep muscle a little bit? And, you know, if you have very, very loose quads, you may not feel much of a stretch. And if that's the case, you can roll over onto your back. Only do this if your quads are super flexible. And come into half Supta Virasana on this side. And you can put your foot on the floor This is a very different kind of feeling. It's much more extreme in a quad stretch, so only do this if your body's really open. You want your pubic bone lifting and your tailbone descending no matter which choice you're taking. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and turn ourselves over onto the other side. Support underneath your head if you want to. You can always just put your arms there too. You can bend your bottom knee or straighten your bottom knee. You can bring your knee toward your chest to grab your foot and then come into a quad stretch here. There requires a little bit of stabilizing, so the tailbone descends and the pubic bone lifts. If you want to find your way and decide whether you want your bottom leg bent or straight, what's going to give you most stability. Stretch the knee away from the torso. Make sure you're moving the pelvis. So tailbone toward the knee, pubic bone toward the navel. If you want more depth than that, you can come onto your back, put your foot next to your hip, and come into half Supta Virasana. This is a very big stretch. Only do this if your knee is really capable and your back is really capable of this level of opening in your quadriceps. Still working with the tailbone. The pelvis is tipping into a little bit of a posterior tilt. And then let's go ahead and release whatever you're doing. Come onto your back. Bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. Moving from side to side. All right, we're going to roll over onto our side. Grab a bolster or some blankets, whatever you have. We're going to do a twist first. So right leg is, or whatever leg you have going on. For me, it's my right leg. And the bolster is going to be out from my right hip perpendicular. My leg is in half Virasana, my other leg, so my heel is next to my hip. And I'm going to turn my belly toward the bolster and lie down upon it. The head can turn either way. If you don't have a yoga bolster, you can try couch pillows, stack up pillows, whatever you've got. So, you both have been, a lot of people have been taking these restorative classes are getting used to having to do this at your house. So you've probably gathered up and made do with what different props you can find. So hopefully you have something here that's gentle for the body, that makes you feel supported. Deep breaths in, exhale away. As best as you can, be the breath. We're going to come out of this posture. Push your hands off the floor, lift your torso up, unwind your leg, and let's switch and go to the other side. This pose I don't recommend if you just ate. This doesn't feel good. So if you did just eat and your belly's just not enjoying being on the bolster, there's so many different choices you can make. I've seen people do this pose more lying on their side, and that's a lovely thing to do too. You actually can get a little bit of a stretch through the IT band here. So if turning all the way to the belly and getting that twist there is a little too much for your core at the moment, that's fine. Just find what feels good for you. If you're able to find the full wringing out of the twist, where is the breath easily going? You can turn your head either way. Even though there's some restriction on the breath because of twisting, see what you can do to balloon out the breath as best as possible, getting into the bottom lung fields as best as you can. Finding the deep inhales, finding the deep exhales. As you are ready to come out of this side, allow yourself to push off your hands. We're going to come into child's pose, so just getting used to that deep flexion in the hips. And if you can't flex your hips this well, where you don't come down very well, this is when you start propping some things in between your feet, underneath your pelvis, so that you can, okay? And alternately, you can also put props underneath your bolster so that you're higher when you come down. So experiment with what you need under your sit bones and what you need underneath your chest to make child's pose not too compressive for the knees or hips. Find your comfort zone. If we had a lot of props, I would have you sitting on one bolster like this, so that it's kind of in between your legs with you on it, and then having some blocks stacked up and a whole nother bolster on top of that. So, there's lots of ways to find stacking in this pose depending on your props, so that you have something underneath your pelvis so your knees have a little give, and underneath your chest so you have something to hug, something to fall into. Take some time turning your head both directions, so pause in one side for a few breaths and then move to the other side for a few breaths. Enjoy your chest resting on something. This is the opposite of some of the restorative back bends that we often do in this class. We're not going there tonight. We're moving in a different direction right now. Anyway, we are going to go there in a moment. But just see what it feels like to nurture the coming in, the kind of curling in on yourself. Now to come out of, and always remember, if you're not ready to come out, just stay. Just because I'm telling you to come out doesn't mean you have to listen to me. But if you're ready, I want you to go all the way into dog pose. I know it seems like a big effort to do that after a pose like this, but I really want you to stretch the backs of your knees. So we're just going to put our hands on the ground. Come on up. You can even keep the bolsters there to rest your head upon. Maybe they're at the right height, maybe they're not. You can always just push them off to the side. Just feel the extension through your body. Stretch the backs of your legs. Lift the sit bones. Take a deep belly breath. And then we're going to relax. Now I kind of have a good setup here, sort of. This is also tricky for you at your house. I just want you to figure out what's going to be best for you. My thighs are pretty flexible, so I'm able to do Supta Virasana with my pelvis on the ground, but that's pretty rare. So I'm going to show you the way I do it, and then I'll show you how to stack a little higher. So just like Supta Baddha-Konasana, I'm going to put the bolsters on a slant the blocks on the slant underneath my bolster. And I'm going to sit in Virasana. I like to come onto the top of my head so I can take my fingers in the knee crease and kind of slide my calves down and wide. Get them out of the way a little bit, and you can sit on the edge of the blanket bolster or on the floor and lay back. Now, like I said, my quads are pretty loose, so this is comfortable for me. You can also, if you want a little more chest opening, interlace your elbows and stretch your arms overhead. So this is very big, and it's not often that people can have this level of flexibility and comfort in this posture. So if that's not working, you can try that. And if you're like, no, sir, my body doesn't do that, then you need to make a change. And the first thing I would say is you need to have support underneath your pelvis. So I would sit on a firm something, blocks, blankets, and then stack up from there with whatever you have. You can have a block behind the bolster, you know, maybe like that, and then have your blankets or another bolster from your couch on a ramp, so that you're sitting now on the edge of the bolster, so you're not going down as low, and then as much support underneath your back as you need. So stack as much up as you need for comfort. So something under the pelvis, even more height underneath the back. You just got to, you know, stack it up like a stack of blocks, experiment, play around with what feels best to you. You don't want to have this like divot in your back where you're like this in a sharp back bend. You really want the angle of your spine to be fairly neutral and gentle instead of, you know, like this. You want to have it more like this. All right, so whatever is comfortable for you, your arms can come up, your arms can come out, your arms can come down. Find ease. There's a little work in this pose. You can press the shins a teeniest bit into the floor, pubic bone lifts, tailbone drops toward the knees so that you're creating that space for the lumbar spine. And if you're not comfortable, you need to step away from what you're doing and try to adjust your props. You can stack more anywhere you need, okay, so that you have up, up, up until you're really supported. This is not a pose to mess with and be like, I'm kind of comfortable, because you stay there for another 30 seconds and you won't be. Close your eyes once you find ease and breathe your way into the breath. Become the breath. Let the ribs flare and fall. The belly rise and fall. As with any pose, if you feel uncomfortable, this one's a doozy, so it's not always so easy. So you can give up the ghost anytime you want. If you're like, no, I just can't get comfortable, then come out of the posture. If you're content, just breathe a few more breaths here. And then let's go ahead and come out. Push up off your elbows or arms to come to sit. Maybe dog pose again. Just stretch the backs of your legs. Doesn't have to be dog pose. Maybe you just come into Uttanasana. Maybe you're sitting on the floor and your legs are just stretched out in front of you. Just open up the back knee pockets. And then come onto your seat and bounce your knees. Okay, so Supta Baddha Konasana. Let's find our way. So maybe your props are already set up for you. Maybe they're not. Okay, so you find, we do this pose every week, just about. I don't know if I've skipped it. yet or not in all these weeks we've been doing this. It's such a beautiful pose. So you come in front of your ramp, soles of the feet are together, support underneath your outer knees, your hips, your thighs, with whatever props you have. Blankets, blocks, bolsters, anything, pillows, anything you can get yourself comfortable with. If you want your head a little bit more supported, you can have a little teenier, smaller blanket or a pillow underneath your head. If you want to have your arms supported up on something, you can have some pillows or support so that your arms aren't all the way down toward the floor. Hopefully by now you guys have found your perfect little setup in your home. And that's not always to say that the perfect setup always works. Some days are different than other days. You might think, oh yeah, this is exactly how I like to set up for Supta Konasana, and then next thing you know, it's not perfect anymore. So be in this moment, adapt, and allow yourself to come into the breath. Make sure you're very supported. This should not feel tense anywhere. There shouldn't even be a feeling of stretching anywhere. It should feel like you're in a nest of total support. Close your eyes and allow yourself to receive the posture. The belly is soft and free. Open the throat, chest, the belly, pelvis. Nothing to guard. Allow yourself to be infused with trust. Become the breath again. you are ready. Maybe you're not ready and you just want to be here, and that's totally fine. We're going to move into Shavasana. And your Shavasana can be leg up the wall pose if you have a burning desire to do an inversion. You can also choose a half inversion where you put your calves up on your bed or on a couch or a chair. You can take all this support underneath you and have a support for Shavasana. A favorite way sometimes can be to have 2 blocks with the bolster on top so that your knees, your calves really are a little higher than what they might ordinarily be. So it's totally your choice how you choose to comfort yourself in this final pose. The most important thing that you can figure out is how you're going to be breathing well. Keep that sense of relaxation that you've cultivated through class, that sense of becoming the breath, feeling that you are the breath, not a body breathing or a mind controlling the breath, but you are the breath itself. Make sure you're warm, so if you need blanket over you or an eye pillow or anything to feel nourished, go ahead and take that. Allow yourself to rest deeply and fully, melting the limbs again, feeling both the deep groundedness of heavy weight and the lightness of airy breath. Become both if you can. Melting tension, feeling yourself be breathed. begin to deepen our breathing again, feeling stillness in the body, movement in the breath. And just a few more words from Rami Shapiro, The Way of Solomon. Emptiness, emptiness upon emptiness. The world is fleeting of form, empty of permanence, void of surety, without certainty, like a breath breathed once and gone. All things rise and fall. Understand emptiness, and tranquility replaces anxiety. Understand emptiness, and compassion replaces jealousy. Understand emptiness, and you will cease to excuse suffering and begin to alleviate it. Let's breathe our way into that spaciousness. Stretching and moving in any way that serves you best. Eventually finding you're coming onto your side, however you get there. And then using your arms to lift yourself up, coming to a seated posture. Take one more deep, full inhale and exhale. Being the breath, becoming the breath. Bring your hands to your heart and offer your emptiness outward. Become wide open space and share. Namaste.